Today we're going to talk about handstands for pulling dominant athletes, or rather how to approach them. And it's not that these tips aren't useful for other athletes, they absolutely are. It's just that I found them to be particularly effective to help someone who's naturally strong in pulling with their handstands. So who's a pulling-based athlete? Rock climbers, pole dancers, circus aerialists, maybe calisthenics athletes. Basically someone who hangs and does a lot of this, because what ends up happening when you're hanging, when you're pulling, typically you're going to do this motion to get more control. Naturally the back is going to arch a little bit, you're going to pull down with the lats, typically soften the elbows. And with most handstand variations, to gain more control, you typically want to do the opposite of that. You want to push up through the shoulders, you want to lock the elbows out and open the shoulders. So in pulling, you're going to close a little bit to activate more of the lats, and then for handstands, we're going to try to open. So these are two kind of opposing concepts. And the issue is that if you get really good at doing one, it kind of turns off the other. So handstand, it's already very counterintuitive. A lot of these cues and tips to get a straight handstand are not natural, but it's even more unnatural to someone who's done a lot of pulling because they're also going to be tight in certain places that can help prevent a better position to get a more ideal form. So I'm going to talk about just a couple of stretches, a couple activation exercises, just a few things to include to help program that muscle memory that you need to get a stable handstand, which is, as I've already said, very opposite to what you're used to if you're doing a lot of hanging and pulling. So naturally, what's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to hang. But we want to hang in a very specific way that, again, helps to understand that it's going to help stretch the shoulders out and stretch the lats and everything that's tight to get a more open position. And then we can employ a couple concepts that also help to further understand the difference of the handstand position versus a power position when you're hanging. So first thing we want to understand is just a relaxed hang. Just hang, let your body go, no tension in the arms, and let your body do whatever it needs to do. And then if you want to think even further about how to incorporate that into your handstand, you can actually think about pressing up. So I'm going to hang on the stall bars here. You can use a bar, you can use whatever, but I'm hanging, let my shoulders relax, and I can go even further by pressing up. I'm not doing anything actively right now with my chest, with my back. It's just this idea of pressing up to let my shoulders hang. The second thing I want to do there is to talk about the elbow activation, because something that people who are good at pulling have trouble doing are locking out the elbows. So next we're going to do a relaxed hang, and then actively, so in a relaxed hang, the elbows are going to be straight, right? What we're going to try to do is actually activate the triceps. I should come back. Like that, we're going to try to activate the triceps to see if we can get our elbows even straighter in the hang. It's a little bit unnatural, but it helps to, again, go into that, the details within the actual handstand technique that make it different than what's natural. So, we're going to hang, we're going to let the body relax, and then you can see, this is my natural hanging posture, and then work on straightening the elbows and engaging the triceps. And it's interesting that I'm actually feeling that change the stretch in my left lat, which is typically a little bit tighter than my right one. So even just doing that changed how I feel the exercise. And next we're going to add the cue of ribs in. So it's this idea. This is going to be ribs out, right? I'm pushing my rib cage out to make it bigger, and then I press the ribs in. So this is the cue that we're going to try to do while in a hang, and you should feel more of a stretch on your shoulders, lats, pecs, wherever you're more tight. So it's this idea, hanging, keep the shoulders pushing up, keep them relaxed, pull my ribs in like I'm trying to round. So on the stall bars, I can think about pressing my middle back into the wall. And the main thing when we do this is we don't want to activate our lats to pull down. We want to avoid that. So actually the stall bars are specifically good for that because it kind of blocks you from pulling. Shouldn't matter, you should be able to do it on a bar, but I'll show you. Hang, and then pulling the ribs in, and then there's one more thing we can also do. So relaxed hang, let it go. My back is a little bit arched, so what I'm going to do is pull my back flat round. I have the bars as a guide, so I try to press my back into the bars. My hips go a little bit forward. I can feel much bigger stretch right now in my shoulders, in my ribs. And then what I can also do is go into a tuck and keep a round tuck, but keeping the shoulders pressed up and relaxed. So when I go into that tuck, it intensifies the stretch even more. And this is more of a shoulder stretching exercise, but it's also to understand what in your anatomy, physiology is tight that's preventing you from being able to do that position actively in a handstand. So very good stretch, again, specifically for the pulling athletes, but still pretty useful for anyone. Another issue when people have tight lats is that they not only have trouble getting their shoulders open this way, but they also have trouble getting their arms shoulder width, right? And you can see, they try to put their arms up and it goes something like this. The elbows bend or the arms just go wide. So the stretch that we're gonna do is to try to get the arm basically past the center line of the head. Again, I'm going to use the stall bars for it because it's what I have available. You can use a pole, a vertical bar, a rubber band, really anything. It's going to go like this. So I'm going to grab about head level, palm down, and that's the arm that we're going to be stretching. Bottom hand grabs, it's not really a grab, it's more of a push away. So what I'm trying to do is lean. I'm leaning my weight away from the stall bars, pushing back with that bottom hand, and then I'm going to do this little bit of oscillation to get the right angle. And we're just trying to stretch this line to be able to get the arm from here to here. I don't really prescribe, sets and reps, hold it for 30 seconds. I prefer to think of it more as an exploration. So find the basic position and then move around and explore in different ways and see what you can feel. Maybe grab a little bit lower. Maybe bend the arm, relax, twist up, twist down, let go of the bottom arm and just pull away. Do, whatever different kind of twists. I'll show you from the other side what that looks like. Different kind of twists, different kind of rotations. So it's not about hold this stretch for 30 seconds and then it's done. Think of it like you're exploring the position, so find where you need to be to get the most benefit, and that's going to be different for everybody. But yeah, very useful stretch. And then afterwards, you can test your overhead position and see if you have less trouble getting your arms closer to your head. So of course, if you're doing a lot of pulling and hanging, you're also probably building a lot of tension in your grip, your wrists and forearms. Tight wrists and forearms are also going to make it more difficult to do a handstand. And also very specifically, a lot of people are bending their elbows in their handstands, specifically to relieve pressure on the wrists. So flexibility here, very important. Check out my full wrist sequence if you really want to strengthen your wrist and stretch them for handstands and prepare them. This is just one particular drill that I find, again, useful for those who come from a pulling background. So I'm using these little Indian clubs, but you can use whatever, books, weight plates, maybe even your handstand blocks. So I'm keeping the palm flat. I'm draping my fingers, the four fingers, over this elevated obstacle. Elbow straight, and then leaning forward into the wrist. Don't let the elbow bend. Keep the elbow straight. I'll show you a different angle. And here we're stretching the wrist and the fingers because this is another, people who have very tight forearms as well sometimes have trouble doing this, which also helps in a handstand to keep a more solid base through the fingers. So again, just four fingers. You can do both at the same time if you want. I'm not going to show that now. Straight the elbow. Make sure the palm stays flat. Push it down if you have to, but try not to let the palm come up. And then just gradually lean forward, and you should feel through your fingers all the way up to the middle of your forearm. Very good stretch for tight forearms, specifically for developing the handstand grip position. Finally, really simple, we're going to go in a handstand and we're going to teach ourselves how to correct going from one position to another. So we can do this just standing up first. We have handstand position, ribs in, arms straight, pulling position, handstand position. So we're going to try to do the same thing as best as we can in the handstand. This is very important because we've done these stretches to help open up the shoulders and the wrist. Now we need to teach our body the proper technique in the handstand itself. Otherwise, there's little point in doing the other exercises to specifically develop the handstand without developing the handstand itself. So it's going to look like this. Whoop, we get into our handstand. I pull the floor like I'm about to do a pull-up. I feel my lats, my elbows soften, shoulders close, and then push into my handstand shape. This is different than just a standard shrug because I'm actually closing my shoulders forward and softening from the elbows, whereas a standard shrug, still very useful, might look like this. So pull, like I'm about to do a pull-up, and then push up. Pull up. So again, building the muscle memory, and when you're training your handstands, you're going to have to make this correction because this motion is probably more natural for you. So you have to learn to make the other motion natural. How do you learn it? In the beginning, by consciously and actively correcting it. So I hope this is helpful. This isn't, an all-inclusive guide to if you're strong in pulling, this is how you do a handstand. Just a few tips, just a few suggestions that you can include in your practice, and then hopefully this can help you out in your training and your learning. Let me know what else you want to see on my YouTube channel. I'll put out new videos whenever I have the time and feel like it. I'll put up links to my wrist and shoulder video as well because that's very helpful also for anyone trying to do handstands. Check out my workshops around the world. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.